You've probably heard that distorted bass, chopped up Portuguese vocals, and dark lo-fi groove that sounds like it's coming out of a haunted tape deck. That's called phonk, a genre built on sampling. But with all those flip samples, mashups, and TikTok remixes, how are producers not getting sued left and right? While it might seem like a recent phenomenon, phonk didn't come from TikTok. It actually comes from 90s Memphis rap. They didn't have record deals or streaming at the time, so they sold cassette tapes locally, remixing and sampling whatever felt right. That DIY spirit of flipping sounds, not worrying about sampling rights or the original source, just pure creativity, became the foundation of what we now know as phonk. Fast forward 20 years and now producers have taken that blueprint and slowed it down, adding distortion and reverb to create a hazy, nostalgic sound. SpaceGhostPurrp popularized the style in the 2010s by putting his music on SoundCloud and using the term phonk in his titles. His tracks combine samples of early phonk tracks with trap and heavy saturation. Suddenly, bedroom producers everywhere were digging up samples of old soul loops and dark vocals and flipping them into something new. This is where sample flipping, slicing, pitching, filtering, and layering became the heart of phonk. The goal isn't to copy, it's to transform a sample so completely that it becomes yours. That's what keeps phonk creatively fresh and inspiring. But legally, transformation alone doesn't protect you if you don't have proper licensing rights for your samples, which I'll get into in a minute. By the early 2020s, phonk took a wild turn. Drift Phonk. It's faster, heavier, and tailor-made for car drifting edits. It brought in house-style drums, dubstep bass lines, that signature 808 cowbell, and distortion so intense it'll blow out your car speakers. Suddenly, every drifting video had that same unmistakable sound. But not everyone calls it the real phonk. Some say it's too far from its roots, even though it's the version that went global. And as this genre started to constantly go viral, things got a little complicated. Many of these viral tracks use unlicensed samples, old funk vocals, movie clips, or other producers' beats, and are first uploaded on SoundCloud or TikTok. You might be wondering, how did these get cleared? Well, here's the unfiltered truth. Most don't, at least at first. In most cases, they released on platforms like SoundCloud or AudioMac that weren't policed as strictly at the time. So how did these producers get past copyright claims? I almost forgot. Brazilian phonk! But before we dive into that rabbit hole, here's the catch. It's not really phonk. It's not really traditional Brazilian funk either. Brazilian funk has been evolving since the 1970s, when DJs like DJ Malboro started mixing American funk and soul with Miami bass and Brazilian rhythms. They called it funk carioca, the sound of the favelas. Like phonk, it's rooted in flipping mainstream samples into raw street-level culture. It's the kind of genre where a track might be a remix of a sample of another remix of an 80s track someone flipped a decade ago. Decades later came funk Automotivo, Sao Paulo's dark car culture take on Brazilian funk. Similarly to Drift Phonk, it brings heavy sub-bass, blown out mids, distorted vocals, and gun cock effects to stress your car speakers. Brazilian phonk sits somewhere in the messy middle, between Memphis-style phonk and Brazil's funk scene. Its label gets used inconsistently, especially by people outside either culture. In reality, most of what the internet calls Brazilian phonk is phonk producers borrowing from Brazilian funk sounds. They're taking those rhythms, vocal chops, and textures and mixing them into the modern TikTok sound. We're in an era where genres are defined less by origins and more by platforms. Everything's evolving, cross-pollinating, and reinterpreting in real time. So depending on which subculture or corner of the internet you're in, the definition shifts completely. So now that we finally got all that covered, how do these producers not get hit by copyright claims when they're essentially remixing a sample of a remix? If a track blows up, labels step in to clear the samples or negotiate with the original rights holders. It all comes down to three things: transformation, timing, and distribution. Transformation is when phonk producers flip a sample so deeply through chopping, pitching, and layering that the sound becomes basically unrecognizable. That makes it a lot harder to make an infringement claim. Distribution comes into play when artists release first on SoundCloud or TikTok or YouTube as video snippets, where copyright detection isn't always immediate. Once a track blows up, labels or producers often clear the sample officially or rework the track with licensed material. It's all about timing. It's not about skipping the law. It's about working with the culture's rhythm. Release fast, react to the audience, fix it later. It's important to note, though, that uploading a sampled track to TikTok or YouTube as a regular video is not the same as releasing your music to YouTube Content ID or TikTok audio library with a distributor. If you're trying to monetize music through YouTube Content ID, TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram, those platforms will reject any music containing third-party samples, even royalty-free ones, if you don't have exclusive rights. Releasing unlicensed tracks can be very risky if you plan to go commercial. So what if you want to stay safe from day one? It's important to know where your sounds come from. Use royalty-free or properly licensed sample packs. There are tons of platforms that offer high-quality packs for your next phonk track that you can use commercially. No clearance needed. When in doubt, clear it. If you're using a recognizable sample or something you don't have exclusive rights to, and you plan to release your music through a label or streaming platform, reach out to the rights holders early, or replace it with a cleared, royalty-free, or exclusively licensed sample where necessary. If you're flipping samples in your tracks, remember, creativity and knowing your sources is the best protection. Which phonk track is your favorite? Drop it in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives like this, hit subscribe and we'll keep breaking it down. Da 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 da, LANDR video with Peggy.